Hey guys, this is Hell Hades. This is a Raid Shadow Legends video. Guys, we've got the new patch coming this week. Looks like it's going to be on Thursday. I'm back on the test server. Hallelujah. I'm back. We have got a new faction. We've got some new buffs. We've got a new gear set, and we've got some changes to other gear sets in the game. So in this video, I'm going to unpack all of the new stuff. In a separate video, I'm going to go through new champions, which will probably come out at exactly the same time as this video, because that's the way the test server stuff works. Before we get into it all, this video is sponsored by me. So we just launched a new merch site. I mean, for those people that were around when I first did merch, this is like the step up in terms of quality. I don't know how many different kind of like little plugs I can do whilst I'm doing this, but we've tested it all. It's all really, really good quality. T-shirts, hoodies, caps, everything's unisex, so don't kind of be fooled by the models. They could be anyone. We love freedom of expression at HH Gaming. We've got phone cases. We've got this cool kind of like either keep it hot or keep it cold tumbler. They describe it as an outdoor party wine tumbler. Who doesn't like a bit of that? But yeah, come and get involved and fill your boots getting ready for Christmas. There you go. Thank you for the sponsor, HH Gaming. Okay, then let's get into patch 6.20. It's going to be, as I say, released on Thursday, probably in line with when the Fusion goes live for this week. And in the other video, I talked about the different champions. I'm going to be streaming 1 hour after this goes live on my Twitch. So we're going to be testing out a bunch of the new champions. But the big part of this new change, we've got the Sylvan Watchers faction with a bunch of new champions in the mix. There's probably a good chance some of these epics are going to be part of the Fusion, and there's a good chance this rare is going to be part of the Fusion as well, or almost certain the rare is. There's probably a good chance a couple of those epics will be as well. So the Sylvan Watchers, I guess for those people that have not completed Faction Wars and are close, they're likely to do exactly what they did with the Shadowkin here. In fact, they've told us that they're not going to open the faction straight away. That's one. So you're going to have a bit of time before the faction for the new one opens up. But eventually what they will do is stretch Lydia out a bit further, and there'll be a couple of other rewards in between for completing this faction, which means that Lydia gets a bit tougher to get for players coming into the game. Some people are going to be upset about it. It's just kind of like, it's the way they're developing their game. I think it makes sense for them to do it that way. But yeah, I guess people get upset if it's annoying for them. You're going to have probably a good 2 or 3 months before they get that faction running. So if you're getting close to Lydia, I guess you've got to punch on and get it done and prioritize it before the new faction starts to kind of build Faction Wars up. But yeah, so the new faction is coming in. As I say, I'll go through all of the champions in the other vid. I think the only negative of getting a new faction is it just makes it harder and harder to get stuff you want from Spider, right? As each faction grows, I think is that a 15th faction now? You know, it adds another multiplier into the chance of you getting the drops you actually want. I'm going to have to burn a ton of energy just to get some accessories for when I playtest this stuff today. So I'm filming this obviously a day ahead. I'm going to have to burn a ton of energy over the next 24 hours. So I've got some stuff I can actually use. And the chance of me getting many items for this faction is very low. So again, just a bit of a watch out. We can't do too much about it. And hopefully they're kind of like 2 times faction accessories for the new faction, like they've been doing with Shadowkin, to help us kind of catch up. So I'm just going to read you a little quick snippet from the faction. Yes, we finally have a new faction, Sylvan Watchers. They are mysterious peacekeepers from the Tree City capital of Nyresa. They follow the law of the Sylvan Court and watch the borders of the Mistwood. They are fancy, they are cool, and they will have their own accessories, of course. So yeah, they're part of Nyserian Union with the Shadowkin and Dwarves. Obviously, they kind of got a bit of an elfish type of feel to them. They were due to be wood elves, I think, at one point, but they've turned it into this kind of Sylvan Watchers. They are very cool champions. They look sweet. I'm not going to go through kits, but look at some of these visuals on some of these champs. Very, very good. They've done a great job of bringing a new faction in again. Let's go through a couple of the new things then that we're going to see in this patch. Patch 6.2. So one of the things we've got is a new buff, and it's only on some of these new Sylvan Watchers initially. So we've got a Taunt buff. Currently, you can land Provoke. Yeah, so Provoke basically means that it's a debuff rather than a buff. Provoke lands. Anyone that's got that Provoke debuff has to attack the person that applied the Provoke debuff. Yeah, so if someone's using the Provoke set, they apply Provoke, it's going to hit the person that applied that Provoke. Now, this is a Taunt buff. So actually, you're in control of placing a buff on yourself, and it acts the same really as Provoke. So anytime there is a Taunt buff out there, everybody will attack in on that Taunt champion. If it's an AoE, it will still hit other people, but ultimately, Taunt is like throwing Provoke onto the enemy. I guess it's stronger than Provoke because you can't have a weak hit. You can't have a accuracy check, anything like that. It just happens. Taunt's out there. They're going to be attacking that individual. I'm just going to read through some of the stuff they say here because it is a little bit complex. If a champion is under Taunt buff, like this dude here, enemies can only attack that champion. If there are several champions under Taunt on the same team, enemies can target any of the Taunt champions. When using AoE, it will obviously hit everybody. They'll attack the Taunt guy, but obviously it will hit everybody as normal. The Provoke debuff has priority over the Taunt buff. Yeah, so if someone's applying Provoke on your team, someone else has got Taunt, the person who applied the Provoke will be the person taking the hits. It says here, in addition, if there is only one champion under Taunt on a team, it will supersede any other buffs that affect targeting, like Veil and Perfect Veil. Meaning a champion under both Taunt and Veil will be targeted. Okay, so if you actually put a Veil buff on someone and they've got Taunt, they still get hit. If there are multiple champions under Taunt on a team, and they've got buffs that affect targeting, things like Veil and Perfect Veil will then take effect to decide who will be targeted. So if you've got two Taunts, one's under a Veil, the dude without the Veil will be the one that gets hit. So just a little bit of kind of like how it works stuff there. But ultimately, it's an interesting buff. I kind of like it, I guess. I'm thinking about it more and more. I kind of like it, actually. The Taunt buff cannot be spread, and its duration cannot be increased. It can be stolen, removed, and its duration can be decreased. So it's not a protected buff, but it cannot be spread around. Okay, cool. Let's get into some of the gear changes then. So there's going to be a change for Instinct. Yeah, so this was a set that you could only get from the Forge Pass. It was like the first Forge Pass set. And currently, it ignores 15% of enemies' defense and gives you 12% speed. We've all fed back. It's just not good enough. Yeah, you've got Savage set and Lethal set here, ignoring 25% defense. There's no situation where you want your damage dealer to take that 10% less. So they've actually buffed it. They buffed it to a 20% ignore enemy defense with that 12% speed. I think it's more viable now. Certainly for people that picked up this set, like my free-to-play, that doesn't have good Savage gear. I think it's actually a decent set now. I think players still will choose Lethal or Savage over Instinct if they're building a damage dealer, because normally those damage dealers don't need as much speed. But there are situations where, you know, speed becomes quite important outside of the arena, and I think Instinct at 20% ignore defense is now more viable. I still think it sits as kind of like an A/B tier set, but it is an improvement, which is good to see. Everyone's got some, so it's good to see that they've made a change. I guess the problem here is we can't really farm it, which means that unless you got incredibly lucky with the first couple of Forge passes, you don't really have good sets. And, you know, with them changing the sets up in the Forge passes, it's difficult to acquire the sets that you need. So we've also got a new artifact set called Defying, yeah, which is this one here. It's got the kind of like ball. Maybe you can't see it. Let me move. It's got like the ball kind of look to it. Now, Defying artifact set. What's going on here? It's going to be added to the Forge. You'll be able to collect the materials in the upcoming Forge Pass. This is going to be the new Forge Pass after this current bolster set, yeah? More sets to the game, more complexity to the game. We've got like 50 gear sets in the game now, Raid. Like, probably need to buff some of the crap ones rather than add new ones, honestly. Like, you know, Affinity Breaker. Do a quick bit of research into your game. How many players run someone in Affinity Breaker? I'll be surprised if it's more than 5. It's horrendous. Anyway, Defiant's coming in. It has got a 10%, you gain 10% defense, and you have a minus 15% damage from AoEs on a 2-piece set. That is actually kind of disgusting. So let's just compare it to really the steel set that does something similar right now. So Stalwart gear is out there. It's a 4-piece set, and you take 30% less damage from AoEs. So this is basically just an upgraded Stalwart, and Stalwart's already a good set. You can get like 3 sets of 2 together and have 45% less damage from AoEs whilst grabbing 30% extra defense. That feels pretty top tier to me. Like, Stalwart, as I say, was already good. You think about Iron Twins, all AoE hits. Hydra, basically all AoE hits. Most of the bosses, Clan boss, like pretty much everywhere, you've got AoEs coming from every boss situation. In the arena, most of the high damage dealers are AoE damage dealers. So to take 45% less damage is pretty nuts. Yeah, I like it a lot. Okay, so the other changes and the stuff they've already spoken about, really, we've got the buff to Black Knight. We've got a buff to Juliana and a couple of the other epics. There's not much else to talk about in that. There's not really any other kind of like quality of life features in this one, but the patch is big. So let me know what you think about the changes. I've been Hell Hades. I'll see you later.